When most of us hear the word yoga, we probably picture someone in a complex physical pose. But what if I told you that's really just scratching the surface? Today, we're going to dive way deeper, beyond the mat, to get to the heart of what yoga was originally all about, a powerful, practical philosophy for calming the constant chatter inside our own heads. So, let's get started on this journey. First off, let me ask you something. Have you ever actually tried to just sit still and think of nothing? It's almost impossible, isn't it? Our minds are just this constant whirlwind of thoughts, worries, to-do lists, and random memories. Well, it turns out that is the central problem that this ancient philosophy of yoga was designed to solve. So to understand the solution, we first have to get a handle on the battlefield itself. In yoga, this entire internal world of your thoughts, your ego, your intellect, the whole shebang is called the chitta. You can just think of it as your mind stuff. It's naturally active, it's always changing, and it's always processing. It's not inherently good or bad, it just is. So if the citta is just neutral, why does it cause us so much grief? Well, the yogic texts point to these 5 root causes of our suffering, and they're called the kleshas. They range from this fundamental ignorance of who we really are, to our attachments to things we like, our aversions to things we don't, and that deep, underlying fear of, well, the end. And think about it, that flash of anger when you're stuck in traffic, that's aversion. That knot in your stomach before a big presentation, that's a form of fear. See, these aren't just ancient abstract ideas, they're the daily static that clouds up our minds. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine your mind, your citta, is a lake. When it gets all stirred up by the winds of these afflictions, the water becomes muddy and murky, and you can't see the bottom clearly. The problem isn't the water. The mind itself is fine. The problem is the constant waves, the endless churning. The whole goal of yoga is to let that water become perfectly still so you can finally see with absolute clarity. So how in the world do we actually do that? Well, lucky for us, an ancient sage named Rishi Patanjali laid it all out. He systemized a super practical, step-by-step discipline to achieve exactly this. He didn't just diagnose the problem. He gave us a detailed prescription for the cure. And this quote, this is the mic drop moment. This might be the single most important definition in all of yoga philosophy. Yoga is not about stretching. Yoga is the cessation, the stopping of the modifications, of the churning of the mind. That's the goal. Everything else is just a tool to get us there. So the big question is, how do we get there? Patanjali laid out this incredibly elegant roadmap known as the Eightfold Path, or Ashtanga Marga. It's a progressive, 8-limbed journey that takes us from how we deal with the outside world all the way to the deepest core of our own being. And what's so fascinating is that this path isn't based on blind faith. Not at all. It's a practical system. It actually encourages us to use our own direct experience, our own logic, and the trusted teachings of others to find our way. It's all about seeing for yourself, thinking for yourself, and learning from those who've walked this path before. It's a journey of personal discovery, not dogma. Okay, let's start walking the path and see how this thing is built. The first 5 limbs are really all about getting our house in order. They're called the external path because they deal with how we interact with the world around us, with our own bodies, and with our senses. It's all about preparing ourselves for the deeper internal work that's coming up. And notice where this whole path begins. It's not with postures, it's with ethics. The yamas are about how we treat others, things like nonviolence and being truthful. The niyamas are about how we treat ourselves, things like contentment and self-study. I mean, it makes sense, right? Without this stable ethical foundation, any attempt to still the mind would be like building a house on sand. You just can't find inner peace if your outer life is a total mess. Okay, now we get to the parts that might feel a little more familiar. Asana, the physical postures, aren't about acrobatics. Their purpose is to create a steady and comfortable body to sit in. Then pranayama, or breath control, works directly on our nervous system to calm us down. And finally, pratyahara. This is a huge step. It's the conscious act of withdrawing our senses from all the external distractions and turning our awareness inward. So, with the external world managed, our bodies steady, and our senses finally turned inward, we are now ready for the real internal journey. These last 3 limbs are the absolute heart of meditative practice, and they happen entirely within the landscape of the chitta, within the mind itself. Okay, this is a really important distinction here. Dharana, the 6th limb, is concentration. It's the effort of holding your mind on one thing, like the flame of a candle. You have to work at it, and you can get distracted. Dhyana, or meditation, is what happens when that effort becomes effortless. It's just this unbroken, steady flow of awareness on that single point. The struggle is over. And what happens when that effortless flow of meditation becomes so complete, so all-encompassing? That's samadhi. This is the peak. This is where the mind becomes so totally absorbed in the object of meditation that the line between you, the observer, and the thing you're observing just dissolves. The sense of a separate I who is meditating simply falls away. So we followed this incredible path, all the way to this state of profound unity and stillness. But why? What is the ultimate purpose of achieving this state? What's on the other side of a totally silent mind? The ultimate goal is something called kaivalya, which means liberation. Remember that murky lake? Well, when the waters of the Chipta finally become perfectly still and crystal clear, you can finally see what was at the bottom all along, your true self. A self that is free from suffering, that is unchanging, that is eternally present. So, you see, stilling the mind isn't the end goal, it's the tool that lets you realize who you've truly been this whole time. The entire Eightfold Path, then, is this beautiful, systematic method for slowly turning down the volume on all that internal noise. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If you could finally, truly quiet all the distractions, all the worries, all the mental chatter, what do you think would be left for you to